Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Incoming Australian leader Anthony Albanese to embark on overseas tour just hours after taking office tomorrow. Authorities are investigating whether a woman who contracted an Omicron subvariant might have spread the virus to a family at a McDonald's. And a bus driver succumbed to his injuries in an early hour accident in Cheung Sha Wan. Australia has elected its first Labour Party Prime Minister in nearly a decade. Anthony Albanese promised to bring Australians together and treat climate change seriously. Isaac Lee reports.
Anthony Albanese was congratulated by his cabinet member and Foreign Minister-elect Penny Wong as he addressed the crowd.
Tonight, the Australian people have voted for change. I am humbled by this victory, and I'm honoured to be given the opportunity to serve as the 31st Prime Minister of Australia.
This came after his Labour Party secured more than 70 seats in the 151-member House of Representatives. But whether a majority government can be formed remains to be seen. One night after declaring victory, Albanese went on the charm offensive by visiting a cafe in Sydney with his partner to meet with supporters. He will take office tomorrow morning and fly to Tokyo at around noon to attend the Quad Summit with leaders from the United States, Japan and India.
Obviously, the Quad Leaders meeting is an absolute priority for Australia, and it enables us to send a message to the world that there is a change of government. There will be some changes in policy, particularly with regard to climate change and our engagement with the world on those issues.
Scott Morrison, meanwhile, spoke in a church service after conceding defeat last night. His Liberal Party only won around 30% of the seats.
God calls us, whether you're a Prime Minister or a pastor, running a business, teaching in schools, working in the police force, doesn't matter. We're each called to trust and obey, and that's the life of faithfulness he calls us to.
With his departure, the Liberal Party-led coalition government will end its 9-year rule of Australia. Analysts said people had lost trust of Morrison, who did not tackle issues including sexual harassment in local politics and climate change in the global context. A scandal which saw his deputy Barnaby Joyce labelling him a hypocrite and a liar in a leaked text message also hampered his election campaign. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Back locally, Hong Kong reported 237 COVID infections today, with no additional related deaths. Block C residents of Mount Park Lodge in Quarry Bay are ordered to get tested after a family of 3 was found to be positive. They had dined at a McDonald's in Tai Kung Shing on May 13th, when they might have had contact with the 64-year-old diner who recently returned from overseas. She was later found to be carrying the Omicron subvariant BA.2.12.1. Meanwhile, a 46-year-old man who returned from Singapore was found to be positive 6 days after completing quarantine. He lives in Residence Bel Air and works in Central, although no one other than his domestic worker was classified as a close contact. Only 7 designated clinics for treating COVID patients will remain in the city starting from tomorrow. 2 of them are on Hong Kong Island, Wan Choi General Outpatient Clinic in Chai Wan and Kennedy Town Jockey Club General Outpatient Clinic. Kowloon residents can visit Robert Black Clinic in Sampo Kong or the Kowloon Bay Health Centre. The remaining 3 are located in Kwai Chung, Sha Tin and Tin Shui Wai. 8 others will stop treating COVID patients tomorrow and revert to general outpatient services on Tuesday. Authorities are also setting up a telephone hotline tomorrow for people who have trouble using the Leave Home Safe app. The hotline operates daily between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. A New World First bus driver was killed after he rammed his double-decker into the back of a stationary coach in Cheung Sha Wan this morning. Police are still investigating what exactly happened. Macy Mock reports.
The fatal accident occurred just before 1 a.m. A New World First bus, which was not carrying passengers at the time, smashed into the back of a coach parked outside the KMB depot in Lai Chi Kok. The driver of the double-decker was trapped in the cabin, which was severely deformed after the accident. It took firefighters nearly an hour and a half to free the man from the wreckage. The 43-year-old, surnamed Lo, was already in a coma when he was rushed to Princess Margaret Hospital with multiple injuries. He was certified dead just before 3 a.m. The 51-year-old coach driver suffered injuries on his hands and feet and was also taken to hospital for treatment. Police are still investigating the cause of the accident, and witnesses have been urged to contact the Kowloon West Special Traffic Investigation Team. A New World First bus spokesman said the company is deeply saddened by Lo's death, describing him as a valuable team member. But the spokesman did not answer questions regarding his working hours and driving record. The Motor Transport Workers General Union said the driver had about 10 years' experience. He usually worked overnight shifts, and the union said there are no reasons to believe that fatigue had played a part in the accident. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
A housing policy concern group has found that nearly 900 public rental units have been left vacant, many for over 2 years. They urge the government to be more flexible and convert them into transitional homes for needy people. Chloe Fong reports.
While the waiting time for public housing keeps going up, a concern group has found that hundreds of flats in existing developments have been left vacant. As of last year, there were 874 such units across 13 districts. They all come from estates built in 1982 or earlier. While half of them have been vacant for 12 months or less, nearly 1 in 6 were left empty for more than 2 years. Queenstown accounted for over 1/3 of such units, followed by Kwai Tsing and eastern districts. Authorities provided various reasons for the phenomenon. Around 1/5 or 198 flats had previous tenants who passed away inside. Other unfavorable conditions included the lack of elevators or close proximity to refuse rooms. The group argued that while the units may not be suitable for long-term occupancy, they can still serve as transitional homes for needy people. This mother and her 2 children previously lived in a subdivided flat in Chuen Wan, but have since been assigned a transitional unit at Tunmen's Putin estate. She complained of the extra time and cost to commute to work, as well as send her children to school. Another woman, Grace, currently lives in an illegal rooftop structure in Kwai Chung. But her building will soon be demolished, and she pleaded with the government not to relocate her far away. The group insisted that, like Grace, most people who require transitional housing are only asking for a roof over their heads and don't mind the defects that these empty units come with. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
U.S. President Joe Biden shrugged off worries that his visit to South Korea would anger his neighbor in the north. This came as he wrapped up a 3-day visit to Seoul before continuing his Asian tour in Japan.
We are prepared for anything North Korea does. We've had reflected how we respond to whatever they do, and so I am not concerned if that's what I suggest.
Biden also announced a cooperation plan with South Korean automaker Hyundai. The world's third largest motor manufacturer pledged to invest $10 billion in the United States, which includes opening a new factory in Georgia, providing 8,000 job opportunities. Biden touched down in Tokyo this afternoon. Tomorrow, he will meet Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and both sides are expected to announce the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, a new trade pact seen as an attempt to counter China's growing influence. As most of the world have built up certain levels of COVID immunity, the same cannot be said for Africa, where only 17% of its population are double jabbed. A team of health workers are now trying to inoculate rural villages and debunk their misconceptions regarding vaccines. Chloe Fong's reports.
They were welcomed like heroes. Medics arrived to the singing of primary school students in a remote part of South Africa. Armed with coolers containing vaccines, the team is on a mission to vaccinate the rural population. As Omicron variants BA.4 and BA.5 sweep across the continent, Africa's low vaccination rate could be exposed. Only 17% of the continent's population have received 2 doses. The group in charge of the vaccination drive said some children carried the misconception that the government wanted to eliminate them through jabs.
Then we're trying to tell them that there is no such. Are you guys sure you are going to vaccinate? Yes. All of us? Yes. Yes.
The group said actively reaching out to the community goes a long way in boosting the vaccination rate.
We all underestimated the level of mistrust, the fears, the use of social media amongst young people to spread misinformation. But if you get them to people, people are likely to get vaccinated. So we're finding higher uptake in rural compared to urban settings in South Africa because these populations have continued to have unequal or in many cases no access to vaccinations.
But it wasn't always smooth sailing. Some local residents remained hesitant in receiving a jab. This lady accused the medics of trying to finish her off. "Go vaccinate the kids," she added. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 24 and 28 degrees. Chance of rain in the coming days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Thanks for watching. Good night.